And it's not hard to just completely flood the internet with references of yourself, references that you control, so that when someone Googles your name, they're like, oh my gosh, who is this guy? Okay, we'll talk about that. Because they're going to Google you, and if they're going to Google you, you may as well know what's up there, and you may as well control it. You may as well have as much positive stuff as you possibly can. I do, because I am looking for contracts all the time, and when I submit a proposal, you've got to know that they're going to Google me. And everyone is talking about this stuff. The social media, I mean, just do a search for social media in any sort of a newspaper. There's stories all the time about Twitter and this and that and the other thing. So the companies that are hiring or not, right, whether they're hiring or not, they're talking about this stuff, and there are conversations taking place in the boardroom about how are we going to take advantage of this social media thing. Because the first step in looking for a job or building your business or building your personal identity or your brand or your online presence is who are you, right? What is your value proposition? And I put a couple of questions here, and we don't have time to, if this was a workshop, I would actually love to take a minute or two just to allow people to write some things down. But just to review it, if you think about your last job, what was the best success you had at that job? What was the biggest victory you had? And then what determined that victory? Okay, what was it that made that victory so good? And how can you apply those same principles to your next job? There's some notes there. And maybe all of you are thinking about your own situations, which I think is great. But there's something there. You had something to do with the victory, and that is part of your value proposition. Right? What do you bring to the table? I mean, if you're going to apply for the job, you have to say, I'm not just applying for the job, like begging you, accept me for the job you've outlined. It's much more powerful to go in and say, yes, I'm qualified for that job, and guess what? I'd even bring this, this, and this to the table. The job is what you're going to fill, but you can provide more than that. Okay, and the second thing, just bright ideas that you have. In your industry, what ideas do you have to make things run smoother? And this next one is controversial almost every time I do it. How could a company spend less on you and your expertise? Think about how much time and energy Google puts into educating their customers how they can spend less with Google. Right? The Google AdWords, when you do an ad that shows up on the side of a Google search and you're advertising something, their platform is full of tools that you can use to spend less on the clicks. They're educating their customers on how to spend less on Google. And what ends up happening? The per-click cost goes down and the total spend goes up because everyone loves them. Right? And I know it's maybe distantly related to the job search, but having this in the back of your mind, knowing that you're dispensable, because today we all are, and thinking along the lines of how the company would think. How can you educate them on how they can get more from you for less money? I'll come back to this. Check this out. I got this literally about an hour and a half before I left to come down here. So I wanted to screen capture. Now, I don't know who this guy is, but he did. They're called a video resume. You go to Google and put video resume in, you're going to find tons of them. Tons of them. And you can. So this guy, I mean, if I had it set up with the audio, I'd play it for you. The thing was watched 12,000 times. Right? People just started watching it. So I'm willing to bet he has a job. So record a simple, authentic video. It does not need to be professional. If it's too professional, if it's too smooth, if it's too slick, they don't trust you. I mean, it's an amazing thing that's going on. You don't have to spend a lot of money on YouTube videos, because if you do, they're less effective. So if you kind of fumble a little bit and the lighting isn't perfect, it's like what's happening in the journalism industry, where they have like these super slick videos of what's going on, and you compare that to someone who's like in a trench, in Iraq or whatever, with dust behind them. It's more authentic. That's what gets watched. LinkedIn. So it's trusted, right? People know LinkedIn and they trust it. So you can build a nice profile on there. And if you have, I mean, in my case, the book, you can even include the book. You can do all sorts of ththings where you can round out your profile. But let's just talk about how to get a LinkedIn presentation or a LinkedIn profile more effective. Okay, and there's some simple things, and it really is the bottom point here. I'll come back to the other ones. If you have people in your network that you've worked with and you know and you respect, my challenge to you would be write a recommendation for those people. Okay, and there's two reasons for that. The number one is that when you go to someone's profile, what does everyone do? They read the recommendations first because it's a third-party perspective. It's always more interesting. Like it's always more interesting to hear what this person has to say about you than to hear what he has to say about him, right? So everyone reads the recommendations. So that's actually almost the most valuable real estate on a LinkedIn profile are the recommendations. So by writing a recommendation for someone, you're getting real estate on someone else's profile. But it also increases the odds that they're going to write a recommendation for you back. We're talking about someone who writes an article, right? We're talking about you writing an article, demonstrating your expertise, right? Remember that value proposition, some of the things that you're seeing in your industry, some of the insights you have for how to do things better or smoother or cheaper, right? Writing an article, I'm not saying you have to write 100 of these, but write 3 or 4. They can be short, like 500 words, right? One page in a Word doc, a few paragraphs, 6 paragraphs, right? Write something that demonstrates your expertise, okay? And use one of these platforms to publish it online. And if you did that, then this is the bottom of one of mine that I did a long time ago. So the article starts way up here, but that's the last paragraph. And then down here is your author resource box where you can talk about yourself. If you did that, okay, you're going to end up with a situation where your name shows up hundreds or thousands of times on Google because they distribute this stuff all over. I mean, it's crazy, right? I mean, it's to the point of being like delusional. I mean, I've seen literally websites with, like Asian characters and my article in the middle in English. Like anyone's, they can't, obviously they can't read. But what do I care, right? What I'm looking for is Google juice. I want someone to Google my name and be like, oh my God, this guy's got 80,000 listings. Who is this guy? Pick your niche, right? That's what today's all about. It's micro-marketing. More than half of the books on Amazon are not sold on any other platform. More than half of the songs that are downloaded on iTunes cannot be purchased on a CD. This is not about mass marketing like the good old days. This is about picking your niche and exploiting that niche. And if you pick that niche and write some articles about it, you can look like an expert. The hard part's writing the book, right? But once if you're going to write a book, I mean, a lot of times if you do some writing, if you publish articles, a lot of people have a lot of content already. And all you need is the PDF file with the contents and the cover graphic, and your book is done. I mean, it's unbelievable. I mean, marketing it is the next step, and there's a whole process associated with that. But guess what, guys? You only become an author once. You could write 100 books. You only become an author once. You're either an author or you're not. And whether it's justified or not, people do treat you a little bit differently.